Happy Sunday! As promised, I am back. I'm staying on schedule. You're going to get a new video from me every Sunday, and it feels really good to be committed to that. So I hope you're as excited as I am. Thank you for all the feedback on the last video. I haven't actually caught up on all of that, but I did read some in the comments, and I also got some private email messages which warm my heart. And I'll remind you, as always, I'm not always on top. Well, okay, I should say I'm not usually on top of replying to emails, but I read every single email that comes into my inbox. Aside from newsletters, at the moment, I am not reading most newsletters. But anyways, if you ever send me a private message, chances are that I've seen it. It's just a matter of if I'm going to respond to it. That's my next big thing. Right now I'm focused on getting consistent with content, and once I'm into the flow of that, my next goal is to be better at replying to messages a lot quicker. It's a whole other topic. I'm not going to focus on that today. Today I am trying to figure out what I want to talk about. I'll start by saying that I've said this in several videos this year, and I haven't made that many, so if you go back to watch, like maybe there's been like one a month, maybe? I feel like there's only been like 6 videos this year so far, but now there'll be 4 a month again, so I'm back on track with that. What I have said in those very few videos from 2016 is that I really feel like this year is a big year of transformation for me, and that is coming in so many different ways. And it's interesting because it's a feeling, it's an energy, but it hasn't been very specific in my mind. I just knew that things were shifting for me in what's felt like a really profound way, more so than other years, it feels like. Again, that's always so relative though. And this year, well, actually, I should say the past month has been really interesting. Even the past 2 months, let's just say since like early March to now, which is almost mid-May, a lot has shifted, and I'll be upfront by saying I'm not ready to be fully transparent about exactly what's happening in my life, and I don't mean to say that as like a tease. There's a lot that I want to share with you, but I want to wait to see how it develops first, so then I can give you all the good details on it. I'm just not comfortable at this moment sharing details until a few things have been sorted out or determined or progressed a little bit more. And no matter what the outcome is, I'm sure I will share with you at some point. So I apologize now for being so vague. I just wanted to say that because there's so much specifics I want to share, but I'm going to be kind of a little bit more general in the sense of what exactly is happening. Even the past few days have felt really, really transformative. New people have come into my life, which have led to new experiences and new thoughts. I've been reading so many books. I went to that Experts Academy training, and I feel like I'm just being loaded with lots and lots of new information and new perspectives. Also, I don't know about you, but this whole election that's happening in the U.S. for you U.S. residents, and actually maybe everyone is feeling affected by this, that has been so fascinating. And I'm finding myself being much more interested in politics and wanting to have a lot of open dialogue about that. I'm not sure if I'll turn any of that into a video. Perhaps, if you would like me to. I feel comfortable enough talking about it. I don't know if I necessarily want to get into all the specifics of my point of view, but I kind of want to share some general ideas and things. I will say here that for the first time, I think I'm really starting to consider the other perspective. So to keep things kind of neutral in this moment, I'm not going to tell you what my political views are, but I probably have talked about it in the past, and you can probably guess. Did I do a video? I felt like I did a video on part of this. I think I might have mentioned it a few videos back about something that I did. Again, being very vague, but my point here right now is that considering other perspectives, other political viewpoints has been so fascinating. I realized through this election how much of a bubble that I've been in because so many people think the same way I do. So my friends, my family, people online and social media, it feels like everyone's saying the same thing, which has felt very affirming until I realized how much my thoughts are probably skewed because I'm not seeing the full picture. I'm only seeing this limited perspective, these biases based on the type of people I surround myself with. And I didn't feel like I was purposefully surrounding myself with these people. But I suppose we do. Like, we're just naturally drawn to like-minded people. And then I started to meet some people who think like me and are like-minded like me in a lot of ways, but actually have an opposite political viewpoint and some different choices in their lifestyle. And that's actually what I can't wait to get more specific on with you soon. So let's hope maybe in the next few months I'll be able to dive more into some of that stuff. But it's been fascinating to just openly consider other perspectives. And maybe that should be the theme of this video, because it's something that I want to talk about a lot more frequently, is being accepting and being more open. That's really a big thing that I stand for, and I want to really put into my work more. I have a huge intention of that, is encouraging people to be more accepting. In fact, I posted something about this on my Facebook the other day, on the Eco Vegan Gal Facebook. You may have seen this. If you're not over there following that page, you may want to, because I always try to post some things that align with what I really believe in. But I posted this quote that says, and it was an image, it says, I will respect your opinion as long as your opinion doesn't disrespect anyone else's existence. Now, to me, that actually came out of a conversation I had recently with somebody that thinks very differently than me in some ways, especially politically and lifestyle-wise. And it was really interesting because it was such a respectful conversation. And again, I wish I could share all these details with you right now. I promise I will as soon as I can. Please don't let me forget, especially about this one. I want to do a whole video around this specific conversation because it was about a very heated topic. And it's something that people generally feel really for or really against. And in general, I tend to get a little bit neutral, or I will have an opinion, but I don't usually like to talk about it. I don't like to debate. I definitely don't like to get in arguments. So I'll find myself not discussing some of these things. And thus, not only do I not have a chance to verbalize my own feelings, but I also don't get to learn from other people. And I'm actually finding at this point in my life that it's so useful to be around people with different perspectives so I can get a broader view. I don't want to live in a bubble. I feel like we can make a bigger impact on people if we go outside of those boundaries. And this has been coming up a lot in the vegan community lately. I don't know about you guys and what you pay attention to, but wow, it has been a very interesting few weeks. There's been some very interesting developments with a restaurant in Los Angeles called Cafe Gratitude. And there's also been a lot of buzz online about Freely. When is there not? But it just feels like especially right now. She Freely, the banana girl, and her boyfriend, I think boyfriend, not husband, right? I don't know. Harley, aka During Writer, they were visiting LA, and they recently put out some videos that got all this attention. And so there's like been all this buzz around it. I'm not going to get into that. I definitely don't want to discuss that, at least not right now. But my opinion aside, it's been really fascinating to watch the drama, for lack of a better word, the energy that's been around this. There's been a lot of anger, a lot of debating, a lot of you're right, I'm wrong. This is how I feel, and if you feel differently, I don't like you, or I don't want to know you, or it's just like butting heads a lot. And one thing that I've really taken out of that that's really starting to get me to think deeper about how I want to participate in the vegan community specifically is that I'm personally not comfortable with all of that infighting. I'm also not comfortable with just fighting in general. I mean, it's just creating so much angst and it's stirring up hatred and fear amongst people. And we just don't need that. And it's often around topics that don't really matter in the grand scheme of things. And I'm not trying to say that to like belittle them, minimize them, because I feel like people get upset for a reason, and that I have compassion for people's opinions and feelings, of course. But I bring up this quote, "I will respect your opinion as long as your opinion doesn't respect anyone else's existence." I posted that on my Facebook because I can be very respectful of somebody else and the way they choose to think and the way that they live, as long as that's not disrespecting somebody else, right? And that's what that means to me. I got some interesting reactions to that, and it's had me step back and examine that quote. I'd love to hear from you in the comments what that means to you, and it might make most sense if you go to the Eco Vegan Gal Facebook page and actually look at it and read it and interpret it in your own way. It seemed like, let me see if I can pull up any valid comments here. There actually weren't that many comments, but some people said that's not how free speech works, or this is a tricky thing, or I will only respect your right to have an opinion. I will consider your opinion. I will reject it out of hand if it conflicts with fact. I mean, there were only 5 comments at this point on my page, but I was fascinated by the fact that this kind of brought up a lot for people. And at the end of the day, my feeling is that I want to cultivate love and peace and respect for other people. And where I draw the line is if it's hard for me to respect somebody if their views on the world or other people or living beings is disrespectful towards them. Does that make sense? It is kind of a tricky thing to talk about. I don't know. I didn't mean for this video to focus on that, but it really comes down to the fact that I'm working personally on considering other viewpoints. While I don't plan to change my political views, I'm actually really enjoying looking at the other side. This is a very important election for us in the United States, and this election is going to affect people around the world. And so it's very important for us to become as educated as possible. I think it's very important for people to vote, but be very clear on who they're voting for and why. Not just because they typically vote Democratic or Republican, not just because they're voting for one issue or they're voting for one reason or their friends or their family are. I really think it's important for all of us to just get as much information as possible. It's also very helpful to see what we're voting against. What are we voting for instead of the other side, right? Because that makes a huge impact. And I feel like in general, we can cultivate so much harmony and peace when we have compassion for the other perspective, when we can try our best to respect the other perspective and gather as much information about it, right? Because generally, people have an opinion for a reason beyond that they just want to or they think they should. A lot of people think deeply and spend a lot of time giving thought as to why they're in that place. I mean, perfect example is vegans versus people who are not vegan, right? It's so easy to say, well, if you're vegan, you're weird. And for vegans to say, if you're not vegan, you're weird. And it's so easy to battle over these things. It's also, funny enough, happens so much that there's infighting. There's vegans that fight with other vegans because they eat a certain way or they don't eat a certain way or they make these decisions and all of that. And I don't know if fighting is really making the impact that we want it to, or if that's just really based in the ego. I have been doing a lot of reading in the past year around the ego. Right now I'm reading one of Wayne Dyer's book for the first time. I think it's back on my nightstand. It's called Living an Inspired Life. And I'm inspired right now to read more of his work because it's absolutely amazing. I read half the book yesterday and I may finish it tonight, maybe. I also, as I've mentioned many times in my videos, read Eckhart Tolle's work, A New Earth, and now I really want to read The Power of Now. I recently read my very first Brene Brown book, which was Daring Greatly. Now I want to read her other books. I mean, these thought leaders that are kind of digging in to elements of ourselves so that we can bring out our best selves and that we can be less attached to our ego so that we can create more internal, personal harmony, but also spread that to other people. And I feel like a lot of this fighting that happens comes from people that are out of alignment, out of harmony with themselves, and are too much in their ego. That's what all these people say. And Wayne Dyer does a very good job of pointing towards examples in the Bible, for example, for quotes from famous philosophers, all of these examples of people that have been saying the same things for many, many years. And I find it so interesting that there's so much data and there's so much historical context for this way of thought, and yet there is still so much anger and hatred and fear being spread. So I feel very compelled now to join that thought leadership and start spreading more of this word about respecting other people's opinions, understanding other people's opinions, and trying to come to a place where we can simply just agree to disagree, right? I'm also looking to see what's the most effective route too, in the sense that perhaps it is beneficial to fight or to debate sometimes. But what the big question is, what are we really getting out of it? Are we trying to convince the other person to think like us? If so, is that actually effective? I would love to know, what are the what are the statistics there? What are the percentages? How frequently does arguing with somebody actually result in that person changing their mind? In my personal experience, it's very rare. Because to me, that's kind of like bullying. Like when you say, I don't like the way you're doing things, the way you're acting, the way that you're thinking, so I'm going to bully you to shame you. Brene Brown talks a lot about shame. It's very rare that you see somebody that was bullied go, you know what? I'm really glad that person bullied me because they got me to think differently, and now I'm a much happier person as a result, right? Typically, bullying comes out of hatred and anger and fear and all this, and not accepting that other person. I've experienced that to a degree through comments. I've talked about this many times through my videos, how hurtful comments have been. And that's why I've done all this self-growth work, is I have to learn how to grow as a person, become stronger as a person, so that I can overcome that. But I don't think I've ever received a mean comment from someone that got me to think, oh, they're right. I'm not a very good YouTuber, or I'm not pretty, or my videos are not fun, or whatever it is, whatever they're complaining about, whatever they're saying about me, like commenting on my weight, commenting on my overall appearance, commenting on the way I talk, the things I say. They do actually get me to step back and think, but generally it's thinking something bad about myself, and I start shaming myself. And I start feeling like I'm not good. I'm not good enough. And I start feeling all these bad feelings that hold me back. My feeling is, if we can find a way to communicate with each other that allows somebody to actually open up, to have that opposite reaction, we can easily encourage somebody to think a little bit differently. We can easily share with somebody our own perspectives and our opinions in a way that is respectful of them, in a way that they can actually hear. That, to me, will get somebody to lean in, as opposed to someone to back off or to cower or to cry or to come inwards, right? My goal is to have people open up and lean forward and listen versus turning away, versus getting more angry, versus wanting nothing to do with me. And I see so much of that more and more, it feels like. Either that, or I'm just so sensitive, I'm so aware of it now that I see it all the time. And as a result, it's encouraging me to do more work to share this way of thinking, to share a more peaceful approach. I mean, what would politics look like right now? Is it something that we could actually shift? I mean, you even see some of the people that start off seeming all peaceful and calm and put together, and suddenly these politicians are now arguing in ways you didn't see them at the very beginning of their campaigns doing. I'm not going to name any names, but you could draw some conclusions. You really see an evolution of these politicians, And it brings all of this electoral, I don't know what, all these debates, all of this media attention, all of this competition to win brings out some really horrific sides of them that may not be even who they really are. So the next question is when we have these communications with people, whether they're a peaceful, loving, respectful conversation or a hate-filled, angry, fearful debate or attack or fight, what is that bringing out of somebody? And are we bringing out their best selves, their real selves, their authentic sides? Or are we bringing out a side of them that's kind of like their dark demon? A perfect example of that is with some of my family members. That's often, I'm sure you can probably relate to this too. With some family members, they could bring out sides of you that you never reveal to anyone. In fact, you barely ever experience even alone. They bring out sides of you who are like, whoa, I didn't realize that I still acted like that. I didn't realize that I still felt like that. I experience that almost every time I go home to visit my family. And I've grown to stop myself. It happened today, actually, in a conversation with a family member. I found myself spitting into my old past tendencies or the way I say things and the way I react to things. And I slowed myself down. And my goal is like, can I get to a point where I don't have that reaction at all? Because that brings out a side of me. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm getting really out of control. And I rarely ever get control at this point. And yet certain situations can bring us to that place where we're not our best selves. My goal in my life right now is to be myself as frequently as possible. Shouldn't that be all of our goals? Isn't that how we do our best work? Isn't that how we bring out our best gifts into life? Isn't that how we show up in the best way possible? So at the end of the day, with all of this said, I'm looking for ways to help people be their best selves as frequently as possible so they can do the best work for the world. I'm not looking for opportunities to bring out my demons. I'm looking for a way to release all of my demons, get rid of them, say goodbye, thank them for the lessons they've taught me, and move on. So I can bring in more angels into my life and elevate myself. Be more in the light and less in the dark. So that's a lot that's been happening in my life and a lot that I've been focused on. And you will see that through these videos. You'll see these through the new videos coming to the main Eco Vegan Gal channel and in all of my work now. It's a good feeling. If you want to check out any of the books I mentioned, Living an Inspired Life, The New Earth, Daring Greatly, I've linked to them down below. Stay tuned. I'll be doing a lot of new work coming out on the main Eco Vegan Gal channel. So if you haven't checked out that channel ever or recently, it's linked to down below, and it's worth paying more attention. Also, the Facebook page, I should mention, I'm going to start doing, I think, I'm aiming for, I'm committing to right now 4 live Facebook videos a week as part of my new project called Eco Vegan Pal. So I'm about to record a video for the main channel about Eco Vegan Pal, so you can stay tuned for that. If I remember, I will link to it down below. But definitely go to facebook.com/ecovegangal. That's also linked down below. And like that page so that the notifications will pop up for you. And they'll also be shared. I'll probably mention it on Instagram and Twitter and all of that as well. Got a lot of content planned for you guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for letting me speak my heart here on this channel. It's a vulnerable place sometimes because I know you're not all going to agree with me. That's not the goal though. My goal is to speak my truth and be authentic and to say what's on my heart without worrying too much, or I should say without worrying, period. About the opinions of other people. And I want to learn to do exactly what I said on that Facebook quote, which is respecting other people's opinions as long as they don't disrespect anyone else's existence. So as long as your opinions don't respect me, then I can respect your opinion of me, even if it is different from how I think. Anyways, I would love to hear your comments today about that specific quote, because it seems that I may not have been viewing it from all angles. So share with me your angle. Share with me your angle on anything that I discussed today. And if you can do that in a loving way, in a compassionate way, in a way that, I guess really in a respectful way, if we can talk about things, even if we disagree on them, if we can keep that in a loving, respectful method, then I think that's how we evolve. I think that that's how we influence other people. What do you think? Really looking forward to hearing from you. Thank you so much. I will see you next Sunday at the very latest. I have a feeling I'll maybe doing more frequent videos here, but since I'm doing so much content elsewhere, it all depends on my energy. Speaking of which, Snapchat. I'm on Snapchat all the time, so if you're missing me, if you want to see me on video more frequently and you want to see my authentic side, it's under Eco Vegan Gal. I would love to see you over there and learn more about you too. All right, till next time, have an amazing day.